Homes are too expensive. Should I buy now? Have you been wondering if this is a good time to buy a home? Then you need to watch this video. Do you know of anybody who has owned a home in the last 10 years? How about somebody who has been renting for over the last decade? If you were to compare them, who would you say is in a better financial position or even in a better place to be able to retire in the future? Well, sometimes we know the rules of the games. When we play Monopoly or Live, we know that by owning real estate, we are able to get out of the game. We're able to win the game. And we all strive to be able to, put our little pieces on the board and own real estate. Yet in real life, sometimes we get caught up in emotions such as fear, what's gonna happen, what's playing on the news, what my coworker said happened to somebody they knew. And so we allow this to kind of clutter our minds and almost freeze us into knowing how to act. So the real question should be, what is not owning a home costing you? What is it costing your family now or in the future? And so we go over a few of these factors when it comes to owning versus renting in one of our videos. So if you haven't already seen this, please check it out. But for now, let's explore the facts that could help you answer whether now could or not be a good time for you to buy a home. So to explore the facts, let's talk about what the cost of owning a home will be. Oftentimes I'm being told, hey, home prices are so much now. Why should I buy? Why shouldn't I wait? And perhaps the questions you should be asking yourself is, what is not owning a home costing you? Now, when it comes to this, we could take a look at what the Federal Reserve has said. And they've noticed that homeowners actually end up producing 40% more in wealth than non-homeowners. Now, this is an astronomical amount when you consider certain facts. I mean, just in the past couple of years, an average homeowner has been able to accumulate over $200,000 worth in their home equity. Now, this could be sometimes even more than someone's salary over a year's time. So again, when it comes to the value or the cost of owning a home, should we be considering how much your mortgage payment will be? Or should we be analyzing what the opportunity cost of not owning a home is actually costing you and your family? And so you may ask, well, if it was that easy, why aren't more people doing it? Well, of course there are going to be challenges when it comes to owning your first home. If it was easy, everyone would do it. So let's dive right into the factors that are affecting people wanting or knowing whether this is a good time to buy a home. With the rising interest rates, rising home prices, and the news of a recession, many are really wondering if this is a good time to buy or not. So let's break it down into the following. Number one, let's talk about affordability. Now, when it comes to affordability, it's so true that we are currently paying more for homes as we were in the past. But it's also true that home rents have skyrocketed. I mean, there was numbers that Redfin produced showing us that rents alone in just the last year increased by 18.5%. Not only that, but also when it comes to certain areas, it became actually cheaper again to own a home than to be renting. The bottom line is, when it comes to rents, we can't control them. We don't know what they're gonna look like. Because again, there is the factor of inflation, right? So when it comes to you owning your home, even though entry level will always be a challenge because you're taking on a mortgage that you weren't used to before, over time, we are able to see that fixed mortgage payment ends up remaining at a lower pace than inflation will ultimately cause rent amounts to increase. Again, we go back to, who do you know that bought a home 10 years ago? And the real question is, what is their mortgage payment versus what we are paying in rent today? So again, we need to always say, okay, this, whatever it is that you're comparing, is it good or bad, but based as compared to what? So when you're looking at home ownership, don't forget to compare it against the data that is coming out when it comes to rentability. So now let's talk about the next challenge, which is inflation, and it goes hand in hand. But when it comes to inflation, listen, in our household, milk is like water. And boy, do I wish I could go back in time and pay 2 cents on the gallon. But that ship has long sailed. So I understand, as most do, that inflation is something that's purely out of my control. Now, when it comes to your mortgage payment, once you have that payment, you fixate it to your loan agreement. So that will never change unless you choose to refinance. Now, one of the most popular reasons why people end up refinancing is actually to lower their mortgage payments. And again, I ask the question, how many people do you not know that have owned their home over a long period of time and are now paying less on their mortgage than most are paying on rent? This is something that's clearly of importance. So this is a good factor to go over. Redfin reported that in 2021, in 29 out of 50 of the largest metro areas in the US, rent actually outpaced the mortgage of new home owners. And so again, that's important in understanding really what renting is costing you versus what owning will be doing for you in the future. Sometimes people fear the commitment of having a mortgage. And I have been asked, Rosa, when am I ever gonna be done paying your home? Again, most mortgage contracts are for a 30-year life span. So unless you refinance, you have a set date in which your last mortgage payment will be. When you rent, you will rent indefinitely.
Forever. Forever. Forever.
And again, at an amount that none of us know what will be future rents. So again, this is the fact. All families deserve an opportunity to build wealth. And real estate is simply a vehicle that allows us to be able to do well for ourselves in our lifetime, but also to trespass wealth into future generations. So when it comes to the question of is now a good time to buy, I would pose to say yes, if you're able to afford it. Now, most times, lenders will not give you a loan that you cannot repay. But if you can afford buying a home, this is a great time for you to get started and investing into your future and the future of your generations to come. So let's talk about another fact, which is top of mind for many, and that is the upcoming recession. Now, when it comes to economic recession, many people associate an economic recession with a downturn in real estate. And when we see this graph, we see that 2 times out of the last 6 that we faced an economic recession, real estate was affected. The last one being in 2008, in which I would even venture to say that it was actually real estate that ended up sparking an economic recession. But 4 out of the 6 times, we clearly see that real estate actually benefited, meaning home prices went up in the midst of an economic recession. So what we can learn is that an economic recession doesn't always equal downturn in home values. Now, where we sit today, there are a few factors that are playing into effect. Number 1, supply and demand. We were already facing a delay in the amount of homes being built to supply the demand. But now with more millennials coming of age and really understanding the value of home ownership, we are really facing a crisis when it comes to supplying enough inventory. And I believe that this demand and lack of supply will continue to uphold the value in the homes. In addition to that, yes, interest rates are changing, but when we look at the historic averages, we are still being able to see that interest rates are still below what the historic averages have been.
Another graph I like to refer to is real estate over time. For instance, if you focus on what the real estate market did in its last downfall, if you had purchased a property in 2006 at the height of the market, you would have stayed with that home during the downfall. If you would have kept that home by 2012, you would have gained more equity than you had when you first bought it in 2006. So again, the alternate choice here would have been to be renting. And during that time, had you been renting, you would have not had any of the tax benefits nor the equity that you would have gained had you just stayed in your home. So it's always important to keep perspective in mind and understand that your home is a long-term investment vehicle like most others. But if you give it time, most certainly real estate over time has always increased in value.
So if you're interested in finding out how you can get yourself in a better position through real estate, make sure you give us a call today. Also, again, make sure you like this video and you subscribe so that you can always get ongoing real estate news related videos like this. And make sure that you go onto our social media platforms so that you could also follow the stories of other people we have been able to help out with their financial gain through real estate. Again, my name is Rosa. I work with Carp Realty Group to help people build wealth and to help sellers obtain the price they want for their home or will buy it. So again, until next time, take care.
For real estate news or tips, please follow us on YouTube or any of our social media channels.
Until next time, this is Rosa Carp with the Carp Realty Group and your Home Sale Guarantee.